Well, the Central Bank of Nigeria recently banned importers of maize from accessing forex from the Apex Bank. This implies importers would now have to rely on supply from the parallel market to carry out their transactions. According to the CBN, the ban was necessitated in order to protect local production of maize, stimulate rapid economic recovery, safeguard rural livelihoods, and increase job creation. However, this move has not gone down well for some subsectors in the agricultural sector, and one of those is the poultry subsector. I'm being joined now by the chairperson, Poultry Association of Nigeria, Ogun State, Blessing Alawode, and of course, I also have an agri consultant and the CEO, X-Ray Farms Consulting, Mr. Africanfarmer Mortgagee. Thank you very much, Mr. Africanfarmer, for joining us on the show. And of course, thank you, Blessing, for joining us on the show. All right, Ms. Alawode, let me start from you. What concerns do the poultry farmers have, about the CBN's policy?
Thank you very much. Good morning, viewers. Our concerns regarding the recent ban on the importation of maize is the fact that currently the local production is inadequate to meet the local demand. The poultry industry thrives on the poultry feed. For every ration of poultry feed, we have a 50 to 60% maize inclusion. For instance, in Ogun State, we have a poultry population of 15 million. This comes to a daily requirement of maize of 1,068 tons. If we multiply this by 365, you know what it comes to. In January, the price of maize was 85,000 naira. In March, it was 95. As we speak today, maize is at 170,000 naira per metric ton and very unavailable. So with the current ban, I fear that the poultry industry faces the danger of a collapse, given the fact that maize as of today do not have a close substitute of commercial quantity. So for the energy requirement of a poultry ration, we depend mostly on maize. And because of the recent crisis we have in the Northwest, Northeast, I suppose, the capacity of our local producers is insufficient. With this rapid increase in price, over a period of 3 months, we have seen the price of maize moving from 90,000 to 170,000. This represents about 78% increase in our cost of production. That excludes other challenges that we have posed by the current state, the current global state because of the COVID pandemic. So how does an industry like this that employs millions of Nigerians, how do they cope? Maize hasn't got a very close substitute that I know of. The production we have locally cannot sustain us. So what do we do?
All right, Ms. Alawode, just hold your thoughts there. Mr. Africanfarmer, you are an agri consultant. What do you make of this? Poultry farmers are saying, this is not good for us. The maize farmers are saying, hey, we love this.
Okay, so I'm not just a consultant, I'm a practitioner, and I've been growing maize for about 20 years commercially, and I've done that across the country. And so I have a practical perspective. For the poultry farmers, this ban is likely to kill them, and I'm not missing the words kill them. And why do I say so? And last year, it rained heavily in October, destroyed a lot of crops, and there was a ban or there was a closure of borders. So that affected, that helped the poultry sector, in quote, but also labor reduced. However, COVID and the lockdown practically paralyzed the poultry sector because people, the way it's designed is they stay on their farm, they produce, marketers come. So when there was no movement, they were killing the birds, they were perishing crates. Some company sold a crate of egg for 50 naira because they did not want to perish it themselves. So I know people who were rearing pigs who bought 500 crates at 50 naira in Ogun State and went to use to feed the pigs. Now, so temporarily, the maize farmers are celebrating, but I don't see light at the end of the tunnel. I should be celebrating too. Why? The cost of production, the chemicals, the other inputs have gone higher. And two, when we check data, if you check FAO, that's United Nations, they have a study they did between 2005 and 2008, where government also banned the importation of maize.
Absolutely, because I know that this maize, whatever, there has been a ban.
Yeah.
So just wondering why CBN has to, bring up this policy even when there has been ban. So what has been happening all this while?
So what's been happening is that there's an official ban, and they give waivers. So what happened was that FAO, that's Food and Agriculture Organization, did a research and found out that it did not increase production. In fact, farmers stopped producing. And so if that data is available, and again we are banning, and don't forget again that most of the seeds...
No, but why wouldn't they produce? We have quite an expensive arable of land.
You see, every time from knowledge, from experience, and from data, every time government decides to say, oh, go into XYZ production, the real farmers move back because you private sector professionals will rush into the opportunity, crash the system, and the farmers don't produce. So when they lose the money once, they stop. So let me put some analysis around this. So currently, the two major maize seed varieties that would deliver the intended result of CBN is imported into this country. It's not produced. It's produced in Brazil, Argentina, and in the US. So when you say you place a ban, they can give you like 8 to 10 tons per hectare. The current seeds we have, most of it, except for the exception of one company, would give you about 3 tons. So when you're placing a ban and there's no alternative with seeds, CBN did not prepare the seed companies to even produce enough seeds. Earlier in the year, the two major Nigerian seed companies were still appealing to people to come and buy. So they did not prepare for the inflow of people who will need the seeds. So there's a ban. We don't have enough seeds. So what is happening is the grains, that's what is planted and harvested, is what they are going to repackage again for people to plant. So when you plant that, you can't get the results. So the intended result you can't get. According to USDA, that's US Department of Agriculture, they projected that Nigeria would need an extra 100,000 metric tons as against the 400,000 last year because of the rains that destroyed the farms last year. So now there's a prediction of extra 100,000 and you are now banning and we don't have fertilizers. Even when you plant corn and there's no fertilizer.
Well, Dangote fertilizer will soon come to...
In February. The maize...
Not in February, actually. It's going to be earlier than that. In fact, they are talking about September, as early as September.
No farmer in this country, Nigeria, I put my 24 years experience behind that. No farmer plants maize to dry in September again. They've missed the season. Currently, farmers in Kaduna are crying looking for fertilizers and across the country. So we don't have fertilizers, you ban maize. Maize uses high nitrogen. So even if you buy the right seeds, you don't have the right fertilizers, you won't get the result. So most times, they beautiful initiative, good intentions. I say it's feel-good intentions. So now you've banned, there's no fertilizers. COVID did not allow most of the importers of the agri inputs to import. So we have shortage of agric inputs, we have shortage of fertilizer, and you've said ban.
So good initiative, but wrong timing.
Wrong timing.
Good. All right, Ms. Alawode, what are the specific implications of this for poultry farmers or poultry business? Is it possible that we will not see eggs to eat?
I pray it will not get to that. However, like I said earlier, for poultry production, there should not be a stop. And our basic inputs for energy is maize. I repeat again, there is no close substitute at commercial quantity. So if you can have feed for your birds, the only option you have will be to downsize or close down. So I fear that a lot of poultry farms, especially the small and medium scale, will be closing down. Currently, feed layers mash goes for 3,675 to 3,800, depending on where you are buying from. When we are talking about poultry, that also includes your chicken. Some time ago, the government had earlier banned the importation of frozen chicken. And now, what we need to produce to up the local production is being banned. Poultry, the feed for the broiler ration is almost at 4,000 now. With the cost of production, I have a slide I have also forwarded to you. I don't know if you mind projecting it. The price of finished feed currently is on 3,675, like I was saying. A price of egg is, farm gate price is still at 900. The product egg and chicken is a bit inelastic in demand, and so it's not something we are able to transfer, as it were, all of the increase in our cost to it. Otherwise, it will become very unaffordable. So I fear a situation whereby the drive by the government to encourage local production of through the anchor borrower program that they run on broiler, I fear that it may suffer a collapse. I fear that many Nigerians who have labored to put all their life investment into poultry may be hitting a very crisis point. Like the second guest said, I fear a death. I fear death of the poultry sector because we cannot survive, the chicken cannot survive without feed, and there is no feed without maize.
All right, Mrs. Alawode, you are the chairperson of Poultry Associations of Nigeria, well, Ogun State chapter, but have your group tried to have a conversation with the central bank and other stakeholders involved?
Well, during the lockdown, the sector faced a lot of crisis because we could not sell our products. Maize sold as low as 600 naira per crate. Nigerians can testify to that. We see farmers hawking maize, hawking egg in every corner of the street, every market, some buried. These are very open secrets. At about this time, we started having increase in the input costs, including maize. And so we cried out to both the federal government and the state government. We cried out to the federal government to assist by supporting the poultry industry by releasing grains from the grain reserve. I'm not sure this was heeded. In the press conference organized by Poultry Association of Nigeria, Ogun State, precisely in May, we called for an importation window. Just like you alluded earlier, maize was originally banned. So we pleaded for a structured importation window to enable us have enough maize to sustain us for this season. We were surprised that the response to that was an outright ban, even for those who had managed to secure or to start a process of importation. So I think that this is an action that is very, very ill-timed. Currently, there is no maize in Nigeria. And even if you plant today, excuse me, ma, even if they plant today, we don't plant maize today, harvest today, and get it for use the next day. It will take at least quite some time to achieve that. What happens between now and that time?
Okay, I'm sure we'll get the central bank to actually react to this, because this seemed to be a very serious one. Now, Mr. African Farmer, for you, what should be the solution?
Well, CBN needs to reverse the ban if they don't want to kill, and I use that word strongly, the poultry and the livestock sector. And they need to now invest heavily in the seed companies so that we can have that. And two, to be able to do that and not discourage the youths. Many youths, many parents have funded them to grow, to go into livestock, and this is really going to hurt them. So we need the government now to reduce all these incentives of giving inputs to farmers and start processing. When we begin to add more value to corn, we'll find naturally have more people into production. So government needs to, the same way they reversed 3 hours going to the airport, they need to reverse this and open a window to allow maize to come in and fund the value chain. If not, there's a clear and present danger. The maize we are using in 2020, dry, was produced in 2019. The one they are encouraging production now will be used in 2021. What will happen to the livestock sector and even the maize producers celebrating now? The cost will go higher, and even the multinationals that use the cereals, many of them will now be contending with the animal feed. So they need to reverse it and go back to the drawing board, call the experts together in the private sector, because government cannot do most of these things without the private sector's contribution. But they mean well, but we need to see that they are open to suggestions by reversing this.
I'm sure the central bank is listening, and they will have to clarify some of these issues and perhaps get this issue resolved as soon as possible. Thank you very much, Mrs. Blessing Alawode, the chairperson, Poultry Association of Nigeria, Ogun State, and of course, Mr. African Farmer Mogaji, the CEO, X-Ray Farms Consulting. We'll take a break, and when we come back, of course, we'll look at the commodities market space. Do stay with us.